Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday I went with a friend to see Avatar: The Way of Water at the cinema. It was my suggestion, as a matter of fact. Not because I thought the film would be great, but because I am hoping, although this looks unlikely, that Avatar number 2 will break the global box office and crown James Cameron box office king again. And why am I hoping for this? Because I think it would be funny. But leaving aside the world of humour, what could be said for a sequel which has been released 14 years after the first film? To be honest, not a lot. Does this mean the film is bad? Well, yes, but actually no, but actually yes, no. For the 3 hours I was sat in the cinema, feeling my body synthesise with the comfortable seat afflicting me with an inability to walk properly for a full half-minute, I cannot say that I was not entertained. The film is visually stunning, the computer graphics are great of course, but it isn't merely that the aliens, aka the Na'vi, the animals and the plant life on the planet of Pandora look like they could be real, it's that everything has been designed to look as aesthetically pleasing as possible. Everything is bright and colourful. The animals, and marine animals in particular, are beautifully designed and interesting to behold. The concept artists for this film, James Cameron being one of them, probably had a whale of a time making it. It is my opinion that James Cameron is skillful at creating and composing beautiful shots and scenes, both with CGI and with real-life sets and locations. The film would be a 10 out of 10 if we were to consider nothing but the visuals and the designs for the world. But now we have to talk about the rest of the film, and it is a mixed bag. Before we continue, I should mention that I'm not going to be discussing James Cameron's absurd and anti-masculine comments about how testosterone is a toxin, and his attempts to blame the hormone for losing his head in arguments. But it does behoove me to say here that all the heroes in his film would appear to have higher, rather than lower, levels of testosterone, or whatever the Na'vi equivalent is. Basically, Cameron says one thing, but his film says something completely different. As well, I am not going to try and be an edgelord by claiming that the humans in Avatar and in Avatar: The Way of Water are and were the real good guys. In both films, they are unequivocally the villains. Which leads me to my first criticism. The issue with the villains in both the Avatar films is not that they are plainly and simply evil. There are plenty of great films where the conflict is more or less good versus evil. No, the issue is just how cartoonishly evil the villains are in the two Avatar films. If you thought the antagonists were cartoonishly evil in the first film, I have to inform you that James Cameron somehow succeeded in making the villains in Avatar: The Way of Water even more cartoony. They were two-dimensional in Avatar, but they are close to one-dimensional in Avatar: The Way of Water. It has taken Cameron 14 years to make this film, and yet his ability to make good villains has apparently not improved. Sadly, his ability to make a compelling narrative has not improved much either. The pace starts out quickly in the beginning, and then slows down dramatically in the middle, before speeding to the finish line in the third act. While the eye sweets of the film help to distract from the pacing issues, the real problem is nothing happens in the middle act, other than some lackluster world building. New characters are introduced, namely Jake Sully's children, but they don't have arcs and don't really develop or grow into characters which are interesting despite the long middle act, which could have been used to flesh them out. This isn't to say that they are unlikable. The Sully family is quite likeable, excluding the youngest son, Earl, who is distinctly unlikable. But what of the plot? Well, the main character's response to the inciting incident is illogical and doesn't make sense. It would be tiresome to go into details to explain why Jake's decision to do what he does is ridiculous, and how it wouldn't actually help the situation, and I don't want to make this review longer than it needs to be. I think it will suffice to say that Cameron wanted to get the family out of the forest and into the water, and he didn't care whether the decision which led his main characters in that desired direction made sense or not. Truth be told, the plot stops in the middle act for the most part and only comes back online in the third act. But summarised, the humans return to conquer Pandora. There is a time jump of 1 year, and some avatars with the memories of fallen marine soldiers imprinted on them, including the main villain of the first film, Colonel Quaritch, arrive on the planet, and their one and only job is to take down Sully and his family. Sully is spooked by their appearance, flees with his family to the Na'vi water tribes, and seeks refuge and safe haven among them. Of course, the Colonel and his troops start searching for them, and there is a showdown in the third act, as you might predict. Perhaps the most important thing to mention is the role the Tolkuns play in the plot. The Tolkuns are sentient whale-like creatures, who the Water Na'vi clans have close ties and relationships with, and Colonel Quaritch forces a fight between his troops and Sully by hunting these creatures with literal whalers. James Cameron made an anti-deforestation film in Avatar, and decided he wanted to make an anti-whaler film in Avatar: The Way of Water. Low-hanging fruit doesn't even come close to describing it, and it is managed with as much skill as you can predict. The main whaler villain is the most cartoonishly evil of all the villains in this film, and the reason there are even whalers on Pandora is too funny, and I won't spoil it. Speaking of funny, however, my favourite character in the film is one of the whales. To end on some positive notes, the action is fun and good. I don't think anyone was predicting it would be otherwise. The actors and actresses do their best with the vanilla script they are given, but two performances stand out. Stefan Lang may have been cast to reprise his role as a cartoon military villain, but he clearly enjoyed doing it, and is having the time of his life playing the character, and it's hard to think of anyone who could have done his job better in this film. Zoe Saldana also clearly enjoyed her reprise, and gives one of the best performances of all the characters, and stole the screen most of the time she appeared on it. I said that none of the new characters really developed in a way to make them interesting, but this isn't true for the main character, Jake Sully. In some ways, he is the same person we saw in Avatar, but he has grown in the second film. The script and Sam Worthington's performance work together to persuade the audience that he has become a father, and thus he has become more responsible, more mellow, and acquired more depth as a character. Lastly, one of the main themes in the film is family. Now, films like The Fast and the Furious have made a sentence like this sound like a joke, but I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that Avatar: The Way of Water does this better than The Fast and the Furious, although I won't pretend it does so in an especially deep way. However, it does strike more wholesome tones. And that is all there is to say. Avatar: The Way of Water is nothing to write home about. You will probably enjoy your first viewing of the film, but I doubt that you will ever be in a rush to rewatch it. It is time to plug my other work. I have published 2 family-friendly novels this year, Escape from Labyrinth and The Northward Journey. The final and third book of this trilogy will be released sometime late summer next year. I said in this video that I would deliver, and I meant it. I have also published a family-friendly novella, Earl the Dragon Slayer, and an adults-only comedy novella, The Pub on the Other Side of the Forest. You can buy these books on Amazon in either ebook or paperback, and there are some audio readings on this channel as well. Links for everything will be in the description. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have an excellent day. Additionally, an early Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all.